Thank you for tuning in to The Square. I am your host, Tony Ringgold, and I hope that everyone is having a wonderful weekend thus far. I know that I am definitely excited about the weekend. It looks pretty good outside, so I'm hoping to have some fun, and I hope you guys are having some fun too. School is out for summer! Woo! Woo-hoo! Yes, everybody's excited. The teachers are excited. But us parents are trying to figure out how we're going to pay for all these groceries now that our kids are home. Listen, my kids are already like zoning out and dividing up the snacks and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's about to be crazy. It's about to be crazy. But at any rate, I won't talk too much. I won't ramble too much because honestly, this particular show is one that is really, really needed. So many people have so many questions about what's happened with the recent temporary closing of Friends in Crisis homeless shelter in downtown Killeen. We've read all the stories about, the families, the people that are affected by it. And, we oftentimes have this type of stigma associated with the homeless population. We think these are people that don't work, that these are people that are just lazy. But honestly, a lot of these people have just fallen on bad luck. And some of these people get up and go to work every single day. So, of course, we were all really saddened with the closing of the shelter. Now of course you're seeing the influx of people that are now on the streets because they really don't have anywhere else to go. The homeless shelter is how they were able to, try and get themselves together to get back on their feet. And so there are a lot of finger pointing and a lot of blaming and a lot of different, people saying, well, the city should have did this, or, well, they should have did this, and what happened with this, and how did we allow this to happen? How did this happen? How did this happen? And, of course, myself, I was one of those people, and I'm still one of those people trying to figure out how did this happen. Real quick, I'm gonna switch the subject real quick because I don't know if you guys have been following the Malia Davis story. But apparently right now is breaking news. It was the little girl that was allegedly abducted from Houston. The stepfather was later indicted, and he is currently, I believe his charges right now are tampering with a human corpse. At any rate, I just got this breaking news, and it looks like he said that the body was in Arkansas. He finally confessed that the body was in Arkansas, and they said that they have found a suspicious bag with an odor to it. That law enforcement in Arkansas have found a black bag with bones and blood amid their search for missing Houston 4-year-old Malia Davis. And if you guys have been following this story like I have, you know that the stepfather, actually the last video they saw of him, he had a laundry basket with a bag. Of course somebody will come in. Sorry, guys. Sorry, my radio people heard my phone ring. Okay, it's embarrassing. But at any rate, on a serious note, the bag was found, and it was a black bag as well that he was carrying out in a laundry basket. So we don't know for sure. They'll have to do DNA testing and everything to find out if this is in fact the body of little Malia Davis. And it's just a sad story. I have a lot of questions. I have questions for the mother. I don't see how you have time to go on Facebook Live and do Q&A sessions when your child is missing. If you don't know where your child is, I think I would be combing the streets and going everywhere I could to find my child. But, that's just me. So we're definitely going to keep you guys tuned in as this story continues to unfold. Now, let's go back to our actual subject at hand. I'm going to have our councilman, I'm going to have him introduce himself and tell the people who you are. And I'm going to let everybody know why I have you here today.
Okay. My name is Steve Harris. I'm the Killeen City Councilman for District 4.
Yes. I think we've met a couple of times. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Different community events and stuff like that. I actually remember when you were running for city council. And you got it. That's what's up. So how long have you been councilman?
This is actually my fifth year in the city council. Because I was on from 2013 to 2015, and I got off for 2 years, and then I came back in 2017 to 19, and I'm back on again. So I'm in my fifth year. Total.
Awesome, awesome. So, okay, so a lot of times, and congratulations for your win.
Thank
you. Officer
Officer
Moore was actually going to be in with us today, but he had some family obligations. I've had him on maybe a month or so ago. We were actually talking about, he is I don't want to say the word correctly. And Officer Moore, if you want to, you can actually give me your real title. But what he does is he works directly with the homeless population. He is the community officer, I believe, for them. And so we had some, he came on and we talked about some things and then some different events and stuff that they were doing. And I think that was back in April. The homeless outreach officer. Thank you, Officer Moore. So shout out to you. We definitely have, of course, you'll be back on. But what we really wanted to talk about today is the actual closing of the shelter. If you guys haven't been following in the news, Friends in Crisis has closed, and it's still baffling to me.
It is.
How that happened. And then, of course, everybody jumps immediately on the city. One of the things that I definitely want to touch on, and I'm sure that you can help to explain, is the shelter itself ran by the city? How does it work, and what is your affiliation with Friends in Crisis?
No, the shelter is not run by the city. As a matter of fact, I mean, the city has no, if you want to say, any type of business affiliation with them. But the city does provide funding through CDBG grants, which are community development block grants. Okay. Each year they come, they request funding through that particular grant resource, and the city gives them the money. Okay,
so they have to request, and it's just like any other nonprofit organization that would come in. They request a certain amount. Did they receive funding from you guys this year?
The city, when I wrote to the city manager, I got the response back that they have been receiving funds consistently.
Oh.
They said they're still receiving funds, and so.
Wait.
Now, I did hear from one person that they didn't receive funds this year, but I heard different stories about how that happened. It's and like I said, I can't speak to any of it as pure fact or anything, but I've heard that. That somebody in the organization didn't request the funding for the CDBG grant as far as the operations, and then I hear that the city said no. I mean, but anyway, in regards to what the city has said, that they've been consistently receiving funding.
Right. And I know you were kind of telling me a little bit. You have your receipts. He brought receipts. Okay, so Kyle Moore says that funding does not go towards operations, but towards a social worker.
Yes.
Okay, so the funding that you guys provide is funding to be able to have the people in place to help the homeless. Is that what that is?
Well, there's more. I mean, there's more funding than that as well. There's as far as rental assistance and for things for domestic violence and so forth. So there's other funding aside from the caseworker funding. Then that's one of the primary things for the caseworker. Because over the past, I'll say, as I'm looking at this right here, because I remember when I was on the council in 2013 to 2015, I remember one of those years when they actually came before us before the shelter actually opened, and they needed money for renovation and so forth. And at that point in time, I remember us giving them basically like $250,000 to get the shelter started, get it refurbished and everything like that and so forth. And from there, like I said, I got off in 2015. So from there, I'm not quite sure what happened in between those years.
Okay.
But up till now, of course, we saw that this past month that they ended up for some reason temporarily closing down.
Okay.
And the council members, we found out same time everybody else found out when it came out in the paper.
Oh, y'all found out at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Officer Kyle says that it was $750,000.
Yes.
That was $750,000
yes. Mm-hmm.
that you guys gave?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, if you're just tuned in, you're tuned in to Sundays at the Square. I am your host, Tony Ringgold, and today I am sitting down with Killeen City Councilman District for Mr. Steve Harris, and we are talking about the recent closing of Friends in Crisis in the shelter located in downtown Killeen. I know that, and I'm sure Officer Kyle, he can kind of give me some more numbers about how many beds and how many people were serviced throughout the Friends in Crisis shelter. But one thing that I think is really important to point out, a lot of people were pointing to the city and getting upset with the city about it. But this particular shelter is a privately owned shelter, I guess, and ran through a nonprofit organization. Although the city has given and has consistently given money to the shelter, it is not necessarily business affiliated with Friends in Crisis. And I think that that's something that really needs to be brought out, because people, I'm going to be honest, that's the first thing I thought too. Officer Kyle Moore said it's about 75 beds that are available with Friends in Crisis. And so that was my first thought too. I was like, hey, where is the city at? How did this happen? So you're telling me that you literally found out what was going on. You read it in the paper like everybody else.
I did. Sure did. Just, city council, I mean, as far as I know, as far as myself and a few other city council members, we had no idea about it. Of course, I did hear from citizens as well, and they were saying that I guess people who are familiar with the center or close to the center said I guess people who worked there as well didn't find out until like the last possible minute, maybe like a day before or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So.
Oh wow.
And so, like I said,
and this is people, even though they're working for a nonprofit organization, that funding and those things are literally how they live,
mm-hmm.
how they pay their bills. Officer Moore said we all did, even me, and I was steady funneling people there.
Mm-hmm.
So that is it's really like a slap in the face, because there had to be somebody, some powers that be had to know that the money was running out and that it was getting ready to close.
Yes.
Why wasn't there anything? Why? See, now these are more questions, and I would love to speak with one of the representatives. Hey, somebody put me in contact with one of the representatives for Friends in Crisis, ones that really can answer the questions, not the people that work there day in and day out and trying to help people that had no idea, but I'm talking about the people that actually do, because this makes no sense at all. Even if you knew that you were getting to a point to your funding was getting low, you could have done fundraisers. You could have done all types of things.
So, yes.
We live in a city where people, I can attest that people will give. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, I mean it really doesn't, because it kind of, like I said, it just I'm at a loss of words for how it happened. I mean, I really am. I'm trying to struggle to try to find the right words, but I'm just at a loss of words for how it happened.
Right.
And the amount of, there was no notice, there was no warning, there was no anything.
Wow.
I mean, even to the council, and you would have thought that at least the council would have known. Now, if anybody in the city management ranks knew, I don't know, but it never came to the council in any kind of way.
Right. And that brings me to the council itself, because I want people to understand, and for our listeners that are just tuning in, you're getting a real understanding of even how the city works and how, the red tape and all of the things that you have to go through. Tell me a little bit about the city council itself. What are you all responsible for? What kind of decisions can you make? And what are the things that you cannot touch?
The things that we're generally responsible for is, of course, we set policies. We come up with ordinances or approve ordinances or anything that the city manager brings forward to us in regards to the business of the city.
Okay.
And as far as monetary stuff, we of course we go over the budget. We approve the budget. When there's purchases over $50,000 or more, it has to come before the council. We decide on that. We decide on the rezoning of land. We decide whether or not if land can actually change in regards to our future land use map or a comprehensive land use map, in regards from one type of designation to another.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are all the things we do. But at the same time, we can create ordinances. We can do something that's called presenting an agenda item before the council. And
for some of our listeners who may not even know what an ordinance is,
mm-hmm.
What is an ordinance?
An ordinance is like a law.
Okay.
Basically like a law. Once we put an ordinance in place, if you violate the ordinance, you'll get a fine or you'll get something.
You get in trouble.
You will. You will. So ordinance is basically like a law. So we can do that. We can put agenda items forward to do things in the city. Like, say, for instance, I put an agenda item forward because whenever a property gets rezoned, an area gets rezoned, they have to notify people within a 200-foot radius. And so I had an issue with the 200-foot radius being too short or too small. And so I put in the agenda item to increase it to 400 feet.
Okay.
And the council approved that. And so now the notification radius is 400 feet. But now, even though only the people in the 200 feet radius are the official complainants, but we still get a feel for how many people even outside of that are still have an issue or are in favor of or against something that's being brought in. So we can do stuff like that, because if anybody ever tells you that all we do is set policies and and things like that, that's not all we do. Other things we can do, and when citizens call into us and they have a complaint about something, we can address that complaint. Like there have been like road issues. When we have road issues, there's potholes in the road, roads are tearing up. Then of course we can of course contact the city manager and get some information, make some requests, and if it can be done, then they'll go out there and they'll fix the roads.
And even if you make a request, it's not guaranteed that will happen.
It's not guaranteed at all. Whenever we put forth an agenda item, I put one forward not too long ago regarding street lights.
Okay.
Or street lamps, rather. I'll say it that way, street lamps. And my ordinance was actually asking the city, because right now the city's current ordinance regarding street lamps in the neighborhood is every 1,200 feet. And that's like about that's like about almost 20 houses,
right?
And so, but that's the ordinance. That's why people see their neighborhoods being so dark,
right?
And either it's every 1,200 feet or it's at every corner. So when you see those neighborhoods that are just have it's like a long row of houses,
and it's just black,
that's because if you mark it off, you try to measure, it should be somewhere around 1,200 feet. So I put forth an agenda item to have that shortened to 600 feet. And unfortunately, they got shot down.
Right. Because that's too much like right. No, that's too much like right. So, okay.
Yeah. So,
so I see what you're saying. So it's not guaranteed. Even though you can put forth and you can ask for these things things are not guaranteed.
No, they're not. They're not. And like I said, the thing about it is the council, they decide whether an agenda item goes forward for discussion. And the thing about it is, the way some things work, if the majority of the council doesn't like something, then something I don't agree with, but it's something the city manager put in place and majority of the council approved it, was for the council to be able to prioritize things for discussion. So I can have something up there for discussion, get it approved, but just because I got it approved does not mean that it will ever appear.
Because if everybody doesn't want to talk about it.
If the majority doesn't want to talk about it, it will never come up for discussion. So
now that's
yeah.
Okay.
So
you see, guys, for my listeners that are tuned in, you see that there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of hoops that that even our city officials and our council people and everyone have to go through in order to even try and get things done. And a lot of times there's there's time in between that. People think, okay, it's been approved, it should be done tomorrow, and I know that it doesn't work that way. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are tuned in to Sundays at the Square, only on B106.